Hi and welcome. Thank you for joining us for our autism webinar. My name is Felicia Ford and I am the president and founder of the Freddie Ford Family Foundation. We support underserved families impacted by autism, and we are working to raise awareness of autism spectrum disorders. Today, our program is Putting the Pieces Together, Family Finances for Autism Families. Our featured speakers will be Ryan Daniels and Rebecca Heiser of Our Finances. Just a few housekeeping rules as you join us. Please stay muted. If you have any questions, please type it into the chat. And as a reminder, the webinar is being recorded. So at this point, we'll go ahead and get started. So Rebecca, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Felicia. My name is Rebecca Heiser. I am one of the financial coaches for Our Finances. I'm also a mom of 3 children that have autism and have been diagnosed since the ages of 2, 3, and age 7. So I'm right where many of you are and understand the impact that having a child with autism has on the family. Today, we're going to talk to you a lot about the financial importance and the piece of setting your child up for financial success in the future and making sure that no matter what, that they are taken care of. The average cost of raising a child today in the United States is about $250,000 from the time they are born till they turn 18. Majority of the cost is in the area of food and housing. However, when you look at the fact that families that have children with autism, this is just the main basic step. A family that has a child with autism will actually pay about $1.4 to $2.4 million to raise their child during the ages of 0 to 18, not accounting for the time after they turn the age of 18. When you first get that diagnosis that your child has autism, I'm sure just like I was, many of you were at that point of, what do I do? Where do I turn? They're throwing all this information at me. I don't know what to do. That fear is there. New parents of what we say neurotypical children, they're worrying about, did I change the diaper right? Are they sick? Is this cough something we have to worry about? Ourselves, the people that have families that have children with autism, we're looking at, did I miss something? What's going to happen when I'm not here to take care of them? What do we do now? Did I do something wrong that they now have autism? So, we're never prepared for this, and that fear never goes away. I'm right there with you, just like many other families are. So you are not alone. Trust me on that one. At some point, you are going to reach that point of what I call term and acronym overload. You'll have things thrown at you like, did you apply for SSI and medical assistance? Did you do this therapy? Did you do that? You're in an IEP team meeting and everyone's throwing every acronym at you that you could think of. And you're like, whoa, we need to stop. We got to slow down. This is too much. What is all of this? And that's what we're here to help you with today from the financial aspect. We're here to break it down and help you take it step by step. We're not trying to have you have a breakdown. We're just trying to help you break everything down, that you are setting your child up for financial success in the future and helping your family make it through the day by day and not be worrying about where is this money coming from or what are we going to do. So before I turn it over to Ryan, everything he's going to talk to you about is all about securing that future financially. What steps can you take now to build that solid foundation? At this time, I'm going to introduce Ryan Daniels, owner of Our Finances, who will literally break down every step for you and explain what do we need to do to lay a great foundation for our child's success.
All right, thank you, Becca. So that was a great introduction as to the goal today. What we're trying to do is make it very simple, very easy to understand, because you have enough on your plate already to worry about. And the biggest challenge that we've identified is the lack of education when it comes to money. Think back to when you went through high school. How many classes on personal finance did you get to take in high school? Most people say 0. If you're lucky, you might have had 1. That was my experience. I took 1 class in high school, and all I remember is being taught how to write a check. And how often do we do checks anymore? So when I was actually in the military for 9 years, I was in the Army. I enjoyed my time. However, once I started having kids, I realized it was time for a change. And I identified that financial education was a huge need. And I saw that as an opportunity to still be able to serve people, but do it in a very meaningful way by helping them go from where they're at to where they want to be financially. And so that's why I decided to start Our Finances. And it's really focused on giving families the tools and education that they need to be able to make sound financial choices. So the first thing, if I can get the screen to go forward here, is the overall picture I want you to remember from today is that you want to build a strong financial house. Every decision that you make with money is going to impact other areas of your finances. So as an example, if you have too much debt, then there's no money left over to put towards saving and investing for your future. At the same time, if you're a breadwinner for the family and somebody else is dependent on your income and you do not have any income protection or life insurance in place that you own, then that's a huge risk for your family, because if something happened, now your family has no money left over to pay off debt, save and invest for your future. So it all works together. You should have received in your email early this morning or early this afternoon a worksheet that we were going to use today. If you didn't, it's okay. You'll have a link at the end where you can go through that on your own time. But it's an inspection worksheet where you see this picture and simply next to it you mark yes or no whether you have all of these areas taken care of. The bottom would be, do you have life insurance outside of your job? So meaning you own it. It's not through your employer. Do you have a plan to pay off your debt? Yes or no? Do you have an emergency fund? There's two different ones. Short term is $2,000, and then your long-term emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So if you get laid off from a job, you have money there to continue to live. Do you have an investment program in place? Are you contributing to a 401k or IRA? And then do you have your legal documents in place? Wills, powers of attorney, perhaps you might need a trust. These are all things that go into building a strong financial house. So as we already talked about, school didn't teach us very much about money. And the result of that is debt's at an all-time high. Credit cards are soaring. Savings is at an all-time low. 3/4 of people live in paycheck to paycheck. And there's an uncertain future because hardly any companies offer pensions. Actually, less than 9% of companies do that anymore. And there's a giant question mark around Social Security. The Congressional Budget Office said by the year 2029, they're not going to have enough money to fully fund the program. And I believe it was 2035, the backup money they have for it will be depleted. But it's all due to a lack of education. If people know better, they can do better. So as I mentioned, step number one is just putting the brakes on, evaluating where are you at with your financial house. So where do you begin? Budgeting is a great place to start with that. So budgeting, there's a few things to remember. One is, why do you even need a budget? It's because it puts you in control of your money rather than money controlling you. It helps you avoid overspending, and popular areas where this happens is all the fun stuff. Going out to eat, the entertainment, Netflix, going to the movies. That's where people tend to overspend. On average, $400 to $900 a month. On the back side of that worksheet, you'll see where you can go back through the last 3 months, fill that worksheet in, and kind of get a grasp on where might you be overspending. But only 1/3 of Americans say that they keep a monthly budget. So it's no wonder that many families are off track. So why don't more people use a budget? Well, one, it requires discipline. You actually have to carve out the time in your schedule. It doesn't have to be a lot, maybe about 20 minutes per week just to sit down and review where you're at. And they think budgeting limits themselves rather than giving them freedom. If you allocate money for your entertainment or going out to eat and all of your essentials, then that gives you the freedom and permission to spend money rather than always questioning, can I do this, can I do this? But some people, they do the ostrich effect. They know they're in trouble, but they'll just bury their head in the sand and hope it goes away. Newsflash is it's never going away, it only compounds. So if you're in that situation where you feel like you need to take back control, start by evaluating where you're at and getting a budget in place. Okay. And one thing if you're married is you want to be on the same page as your spouse. You got to be fighting for the same goals. And this is a great time of year to have those discussions before the holidays where people tend to really overspend. Get on the same page and move into 2021 with those shared goals. So let's take a look in detail of how this financial house works. As I mentioned, the foundation is that income protection. You need to make sure that you own some life insurance that protects your income if anybody is dependent on that income. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Right here is a typical middle income family. Notice the husband and wife are married, they got a young daughter, and that they're both gainfully employed. But the 5 mistakes people make is one, just procrastination. You don't wake up in the morning with everything else going on and say, hey, I'm going to go make sure that I got life insurance in place. You just don't think about it. Number 2 is not enough. You might need 500,000 of coverage, but only have 50,000. That's a very common thing. 3 is group life. That means you only have it at a job. The 4th mistake is having the wrong kind. And the 5th one is having the right kind, but with the wrong company. Yes, that is a real thing. You can have the right kind, but if it's with the wrong company, then they're not set up in the correct way to help you. In the end, it's going to try to switch you over to the wrong type of product. So again, both husband and wife are working, but notice they're part of that 76%. Their incomes added together matches their expenses. It's the typical things, the mortgage, the car payment, you got to keep the lights on and feed your kids. But what happens to this family now? That is devastating for a family. Not only is it heart-wrenching to lose the husband, but how is that mom going to raise that daughter for the next 15 years with half the income when they were already living paycheck to paycheck? You've probably heard of GoFundMe. That is not how you protect your income. You've probably heard of people moving back in with family, having to downsize their lifestyle, everything they worked so hard for because they had no way to replace the husband's income when unfortunately something happened. So it's very important that you have that as part of your financial program. And I really want to hit home as to why you should not rely on the insurance from your job. A lot of people have this blind faith with their companies. They think their company's going to take care of them. Well, I hate to tell you this, businesses are in businesses to make money. They use the quote-unquote benefits to lure employees in, rightfully so. You got to offer benefits, but those benefits aren't always cracked up to what people think they are. So specifically, this is how group life insurance works. If you have it at your job, this is exactly how it works. It's a contract between the employer and the insurance company. You do not own it. So as an example, if you work for this company called Carpenter Technology, the policyholder is the company. And that's important because who do you think makes all the decisions? That's right, the company. It means they could raise the cost of it, they could lower the coverage, they could cancel it, and even if you were to die, they don't always have to pay. And it's completely legal for them to do that. And they all have a paragraph like this. This certificate is part of the group policy. The group policy is a contract between MetLife and the policyholder and may be changed or ended without your consent or notice to you. Does that sound good? No. So if you are depending on insurance to protect your family's income, then you need to own that outside of your job. So one thing you got to do is remember, one of the mistakes people make is they might only have 50,000 of coverage, but need 500,000. So again, on that worksheet, you can do a quick calculation of what would be the amount you need. So take your yearly income and multiply that by 10. If you're married, you can do the same thing for your spouse. So let's say you're making $60,000 a year. You take 60,000 times 10, that's 600,000 of coverage that you would need if you were to pass away unexpectedly. Now, talking with a financial coach like Rebecca or myself, we're actually able to go into a little bit more detail to make sure you're not overspending or being underinsured. Ask a lot more follow-up questions to get that number exactly right for you. Now, step number 2 is moving up that financial house is the debt piece. You got to have a plan to pay off your debt. The first thing is taking responsibility. It doesn't matter what happened before. It doesn't matter if you might have overspent in different areas. The good news is you can change starting today by having a plan. But I do want to point out, as easy as it might seem to have the quick fix for your debt, avoid debt consolidation and avoid debt relief companies and credit repair companies. That is the #1 FTC complaint. You do not need to pay somebody to help you get rid of your debt. You can do it. You just need a step-by-step plan. Here's some of the mistakes to avoid when paying off your debt. Obviously, don't accumulate more debt. Make the decision today that you're not going to buy things on credit moving forward. If you don't have the money to buy it now, you got to wait and save up for it. Number 2 is never borrow against your 401k, because you're robbing yourself for your future retirement. That's going to create bigger problems for you later on. And I know parents, right, they want the best for their kids, but a huge mistake with a 401k is parents will take money out of that to fund their kids' college. Big mistake. You never want to do that. Number 3, foregoing an emergency fund. Do not take money out of your 401k or out of your emergency funds to pay off debt, because that needs to stay there for the inevitable next emergency. Don't fall for any debt relief scams, right? There is no magic wand somebody's going to wave and make it all disappear. Number 5, don't close your credit accounts after you pay them off. Just put them in a little shoebox or in your safe. Put them somewhere, out of sight, out of mind. But that's going to actually impact your credit score. If you start closing all the accounts, it'll actually make your credit score go down. And number 6, the worst thing you can do is nothing at all. That's always a bad idea. You have to take action to pay off that debt. So this is an example of what a plan can look like. This is what we do as financial coaches with families for a simple steps financial plan. Notice that they have all their debts over here, typical things: car loans, student loans, store credit cards, mortgage, their balances, minimum payments. They were throwing a little bit of extra at it, and then their total payments. But what we put together for families are called a debt stack plan. What it does is shows you the fastest way to pay it off without paying any more money on your debt. So just by having it in writing, it's so much easier for a family to follow than just trying to guess. Moving up the financial house, next thing we have is our emergency savings. So it's going to happen. We're all going to have financial emergencies come up, whether the washer goes out, whether the furnace needs fixed. We want to have cash on hand to pay for that. So the first thing is your short-term emergency fund. That's $2,000 right now. If you have to sell something, sell something. Go through your garage, go through your kids' old toys, old clothing, whatever you got to do. Find $2,000 right now and put that in a savings account. You need new car tires, you got cash to do it. You're not going into more credit card debt. If you ever use it, make sure you put it back in your budget to put money back into that account so you always have $2,000. The second emergency fund is your long-term savings, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. 3 months is the minimum. If you feel like you have more of a secure job, you know, that they really don't lay people off, it's not like a seasonal thing, then maybe you have 3 months. If there's a lot of volatility in your industry, then maybe you want the 6 months. But don't include any extras. This is bare bones: food, water, clothing, shelter, and then don't touch it. So figure out that number for yourself. If your living expenses are $3,000 a month, you need a minimum of $9,000. Okay? And use a savings account for the short term and for your first 3 months. If you decide you need up to 6 months, months 4 through 6 can actually be invested conservatively, so it's working for you, because the likelihood of needing it is pretty small. Now, where should you save it? You don't have to go to your local bank that you use for your everyday checking account. Shop around for your savings account. Go online to bankrate.com, and then you can click on the savings tab and look for the highest returns on savings accounts. Oftentimes they're online only, but that's okay because it's just for a rainy day. Now these numbers here were as high as 2.5% when I've seen them before, and just a few months ago it was still at 1.75. But because interest rates have dropped, obviously they're lower, but these are still way better than most local banks. Most local banks, the average savings account was only 0.09 in 2019. So make sure you're shopping around when it comes to the savings side of things. Now the next level of the house is the investing. We got to be thinking long term, not just for you, but also if you're planning for your kids' college or you're planning for your legacy, like to have money there to provide for them once you're gone. So what is the best choice for investing? Well, there's only 3 places to save your money. The first one is under your mattress. Number 2 is in the bank, and number 3 is in the market through accounts like IRAs and 401ks. Now, can we all agree putting money under your mattress is not the safest or most profitable way to save your money? Yeah, we can all agree on that, so let's cross that off the list. The next one would be in banks. And as I mentioned, they have very low interest rates. There's $19 trillion right now in banks earning less than 1%. So growing up, we were all taught the same thing. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, save 10%, and put it in a bank. Well, if you follow that advice and you only put your money in the bank, you're never going to make enough money and save enough money to be able to stop working someday and provide for those that you're trying to take care of. So let's cross banks off the list. That's not meant for your long-term saving and investing. So that only leaves the market. Now check this out. The S&P 500 has averaged 17% over the last 10 years, and in 2019 at almost 30%. So would you agree that is a much better proposition than under your mattress or in the bank? I think we can all agree on that. So if that is the obvious choice for long-term growth, why don't more people invest? Well, oftentimes it's fear and just the lack of knowledge. But I want to leave you with one nugget when it comes to saving and investing, because we could do a whole class just on this. How should you invest? The best method is called dollar cost averaging. That's consistently investing over a long period of time. So let's say, for example, your budget is $50 a month to put towards your saving and investing. And you're doing $50. And you're buying apples. Apples cost you $10 a piece. So in month number 1, you could get 5 apples. Well, in month number 2, the sun's shining, the rain's falling, there's apples everywhere. So now they're only $1 a piece, so you can get 50 apples. Well, month number 3, we had a drought. So the trees are all drying up. You can't find an apple for miles. So now they're $25 a piece. So you can only get 2. So in total, you've spent $150, and the average cost would be $3, because 150 divided by 50, you get 3. Okay. Now, did you ever spend $3 on apples? No, but you did spend 25, and you spent 10. So if you got a tip from your coworker around the water cooler, or your crazy uncle calls you up and says, hey, Rebecca, you should really buy all your apples this month because that's the best deal you're going to find, then you would have missed out and had to spend a whole lot more money. So what do the price of apples have to be for you to make a profit because you bought all 3 months? Anything over $3. So if you're saving and investing for the long term to be able to retire and stop working someday, then you want to budget that. You want to put whatever you can commit to, whether that's 3% of your check, 5% of your check, or a dollar amount, that will over time increase your ability to make a profit. So never try to time the market, right? Don't watch the news. Don't get those hot tips from your coworker that says, hey, this is the best stock to buy right now, because you're going to lose most of the time. It's about consistency. And here's why I know that. If you're constantly watching the news and they say the sky is falling, right, the election's next week, so we just lost 6% in the market, and you pull your money out and you make decisions like that just 10 times over a 20-year period, here's an example where you would have only got a 4% return. Instead, if you would have put the money in there for the long term, made no decisions to pull money in and out, you would have got more than double the rate of return. So again, dollar cost averaging, put it as a line item in your budget and invest consistently over time, so that you can stop working someday and you can provide for those you're caring for. So what's the difference for most families when it comes to the wills, powers of attorney, and all of that? To really dive into detail, because she has a background in this and experience raising 3 kids of her own on the spectrum, I'm going to turn things back over to Becca to guide you through the rest of this financial house.
All right, well, thank you, Ryan. That was a lot of great information on building your financial house and setting up a great foundation. The last piece I'm going to talk about is the roof of the house. You know, I know here right now we're in Pennsylvania and it is downpouring outside right now. So you got to have the top part so the rest of your stuff doesn't get wet and you don't lose everything from a flood. So at the top is all your legal information. Most families just really need to worry about a will. What's going to happen in the event that something unfortunate happens to you or your spouse? Well, as an autism family, there's other things we have to think about and have in place, like a special needs trust and, you know, power of attorney and guardianship when our children turn 18. Now, Ryan and I, the company we're with, focuses solely on the financial aspect. We do partner with a legal service, and no matter what though you choose to do, you need to speak with a lawyer and start thinking about, you know, what's going to happen to my children should I pass away? You know, what would you like to happen financially? And talk to a lawyer so you know the laws in your state. We can only speak right now for what we deal with our own children, but speaking with a lawyer will definitely help you manage the way in terms of the legal side. Having these documents in place are a key piece for if something unfortunate would happen. Now, the next thing is we talked a lot about how do we personally get ourselves in the right place and set that foundation, but how do we get the whole family involved? Our kids are watching everything we do. A lot of them, they're like little sponges that, you know, you say the wrong thing and they're telling everyone about it. So financially, why aren't we talking to them about money? Why aren't we showing them the way? So what I'm going to show you in the next couple of slides is, you know, how can you engage every single level regardless of the ability or the age? So for our younger kids or those that, you know, this is the ability level that they are at, try different things, you know, coin rubbings. This is a great way. Take the crayon, put a piece of paper over top of some coins, rub the crayon over top, and practice identifying coins. Coin caterpillars is another thing, you know, line some coins up, make them look like a caterpillar, and have them practice counting and their money so they know how much change they have. Stack the scoops is another great way to have different shapes of ice cream. You know, you want them to spend this much money on, you know, the cone of ice cream. How much do you have to get together in your coins? Ready, set, save is a nice little competitive aspect. I know we don't personally use competition activities in our house, but for some families, competition works. You know, said, okay, whoever saves the most money over the summer will get extra money from us to put into your savings account. Or you could turn it into whatever you'd like. You know, do so many chores, we'll give you an extra $2 to put into savings. Declutter and donate is great for the whole family because it's really emphasizing the point of, you know, you don't need all this stuff. What don't you want? What aren't you using? Gather it all up and learn on how to give back and give it to other families and children that could use. Working with your teenagers, giving them the responsibility of a bank account, helping them start saving for college, using the pizza budget as an example. You know, get a pizza one night, cut it into different size slices. Okay, well, this part is how much we paid for the house. This is how much is for the utility, and start pulling it away, and then leave one slice left with how much they have left to spend. Basically tell them that's what they get to eat. And, you know, have them start to see how quickly all that parts of the pizza gets pulled apart till all the bills are paid. There's also some great websites, themint.org, bizkids.com, are great sites that have games and interactive ways to teach your children all about money. And another way to do it is, you know, growing up, we used to have family game nights. Get the kids off their iPads, collect them, get their phones, and just pull out some of these old-time games like Monopoly, Payday, the Game of Life. And there's great lessons built into that on just how to manage and work with money as you're having a good time as a family. For some of the high school level kids, I know in the school that I teach at, they're playing the stock market game in economics. You can do that at home as well. There's different websites that can do that for you. So all different ways to encourage the family to get involved, but the biggest thing is talk about money. Don't let it be that hidden taboo subject that is never spoken about. So you heard a lot of information from Ryan and I today about finances, setting yourself up for success, but now what? You take this information, what do you do with it? The biggest thing is, number one, give us your feedback. We want to hear what you thought. Go to the website that you see on your screen, ourfinances.com/autism, and fill out the feedback form. When you do that, you will get a workbook that has over 30 pages for you to work on that is completely free to help you with your finances. You also want to schedule a one-to-one coaching session with us. Again, this is completely free. We partner with over 100 companies. They're the ones who pay us for our time. You do not. So the biggest thing that I can stress is you need to take action. Sitting there just saying, oh, I got all this information, it does nothing. Filling out the form, scheduling a coaching session allows you to take action and help set you and your family up for great financial success. We thank you for joining us today. Make sure you fill out the feedback form. I will leave it up here for another minute. And I will turn it back over to Felicia to close out the session.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca and Ryan. I hope everyone learned a lot. I really love the aspect of looking up interest rates because I had no idea about that. And I really believe, if nothing else, that would be super helpful, at least for me, for when I create my emergency fund. So thank you all for that bit of information. But anyone that has any questions, please feel free to email me at Felicia, Felicia, at FreddieFordFamilyFoundation.org, and FreddieFord Family Foundation. We hope that this is knowledge that will really open your eyes to your finances and how to appropriately handle them, and moving forward to protect your family and grow something for your children. As an autism mother, I also understand that finances can be tough and we have a lot of hurdles to overcome. So once again, please contact Rebecca with any questions. Also, her email is on the screen. And if you need any more information, her website's there as well. Thank you guys again so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you.